Okay, new project as promised. We're going to do the hourglass revision of this side invisible zipper on formal wear dress. And as I was about to make a chalk mark, I remembered one thing I wanted to mention from the black dress experience. And that is certainly you don't have to remove the entire zipper, long as it is, when all you are doing is taking in at the underarm, and it can come back to the original size at the waist. You'd only have to rip out the zipper to here on each side, and then do as you learned with the black dress, lay the zipper at the angle and get her done. Okay, just wanted to make sure you were clear. You would never have to rip out the entire zipper in that event. It's just when the zipper's messed up and won't zip at all that you have to rip out the whole thing and start again. So, okay, let's begin this hourglass project that will not involve the underarm, and will begin right about here and end right about here, and we'll curve that zipper in its middle portion. I won't have to touch down here, yay, or up here, yay. Just remove it, its middle third about, I'm going to say, and then reset it. Okay, it was not an easy prospect to pin the client on the zipper side at all. This is the zipper, so I just pinned her on the other side. It doesn't involve the zipper, and as she stood in front of the mirror, I just kind of pinched this side in, and we determined this is what it needs to be. So on this side, we'll have the easy task of just taking it in as per the first original formal wear bodice video. So how am I going to figure this out for the zipper side? Well, I'm just going to copy these marks, which I made chalk marks from pin to pin, on this side. Just going to copy it on over. So match up underarm to underarm, and you can see where pleat and pleat match here. Measure this deepest portion is 3/4 inches, so we're going in about an inch and a half total on this side. Okay, so to gain control of this thick area here, I did pin it above where I believe I'll be making chalk marks, and because I can eyeball it, I'm just going to draw it. You will want to measure your 3/4 inches in. You will learn to have an eye for this. See how that's basically pretty much the same? Good. Now I'll stick the pins in the actual line, having made sure I bent this zipper quite accurately in half. So that I can copy that on the other side. Okay? We know we want to end this one here. If this seems like a little bit of a messy or fly by the seat of the pants approach, it maybe is. Develop your own way. This is my best knowledge about how to do this that I offer to you. And of course, you figure out your preference. As always. Okay, we're good. Now we have something to work with, and all you have to do is rip out this area of the zipper on both sides, plus a little ways beyond, not too much. Okay, zipper all detached at that middle third or so. Actually, here's the end of the zipper, and we're actually not that far from the end of the zipper. But anyway, you get the idea. The middle part is all released from the lining, which I kind of marked also on that side. And the other side, free. So now it would be wise to baste along here and get that shirring and pleating into place so it doesn't move on us as we put the zipper there. Okay, so go ahead and run some basting along your chalk line. You'll be glad you did. All basted then. And I'm now going to take the pressing iron and erase the chalk marks, being careful not to melt the teeth on the zipper. Now lay that zipper tape, just like you did on the black dress, along the basting line. Here I have no basting line, and I did accidentally erase, but it's okay. By the time you get to here, it just naturally lays the way it should. Pin it on. Teeth alongside your basting line. Okay, you're good to go with your zipper foot running 1 or 2 lines next to the teeth, just as you did on the black dress. Will it be a little tight as you get up here towards the lining? Yes, it will. If you have to release a little more lining in order to get close to the teeth, that's what you'll do. Trying not to get yourself into trouble down here at the bottom of the zipper so that you don't have to redo all this down here. If it's too close for comfort, you can always take a needle and thread and sew it by hand here. Okay? Zipper is all in and zipped up nicely. Make sure you check. Now I've got it inside out, ready to attach the lining. But first, I should do a little trimming. So I will. I'm not going to get radical with my trimming. Just enough. I guess I'm going to make a little bit of a curve here. By the way, I used the free arm as I sewed on the zipper tape with a zipper foot. Nothing radical, just a little something. So that there's no tension in there. Alright, I slashed just a little bit here up towards the original pressing line, remembering that I've got a little bit of a drawn line here with chalk. I'll just press it under at the chalk and match that up in the right spot along here. Fold it in on the line you drew, or by eyeballing it. Just finger press it on down in. Looks like there might be a little bit of bulk. It's okay. As you sew it, it will neatly take its place. Once again, all zipped up, and we have achieved a nice hourglass curve for the client. And you have just finished your invisible side zipper labor intensive. Good job. I have a client who's getting married in this beautiful wedding dress. She has a fitting problem that's very complex, but we're going to explore that today, and you're going to learn how to reposition a zipper in formal wear. Let's get started. Here's the thing, it's too big. And so we had hoped we could take this dress in at the bodice area, at the side seams, like is commonplace. And you'll notice that I have a video that explores that. So go ahead and look at that sometime. But in this event, taking in these side seams is going to be a problem because when I do, it splits the halter dress too far open for the cleavage. So instead, we're going to take in that back zipper area. That way, we can control what's happening in front in the cleavage area. Here we are at the back zipper, and it needs to be taken in a full inch on each side up at the top, tapering down to the original seam when we get down to the bottom of the zipper. And that's a blessing. I'll show you why. First, I'll tell you why. If we don't have to undo the bottom of the zipper, which is the most difficult part to sew originally, then that makes the situation much, much better. If she needed to have this entire back seam taken in and have to remove the zipper entirely, that's where it becomes even more complicated, and luckily we don't have to do that in this case. Here we are at the zipper area then. It does involve an empire waist. We have some sheer material that we're going to be dealing with. Of course it's lined. And we'll start by releasing the lining all the way from the top down to about 2 inches short of the bottom, because remember, we're going to leave the bottom area of the zipper intact, and we'll do this on the other side as well. Making progress on the ripping out. It's just about entirely ripped out here, the lining from the zipper. And here's why I want to impart some sage advice. I believe you should only do one side of the zipper in its entirety first. Don't rip out both sides and go step by step from side to side. Why? Because you want to be able to compare what you're doing on the side that's newly being done with the other side so that you can copy it pretty much the same. I hope I'm making myself clear. You don't want to get stuck wondering what's next, and a lot of times you can refer to the other already finished side for what to do next if you're just kind of going by feel, which a lot of times I do. And that's why we're doing these tutorials, so that you don't have to go by feel as much. So having said all that for your benefit, I hope, just make sure that you separate that lining from the zipper all the way to the top of the tab. And I did go closer down to the original zipper than 2 inches on the lining, but I won't at the dress part. I'll stop a little above where the lining is. So now, be brave. Separate this zipper from the dress, which is 2 layers, sheer and a sturdier underlayer. I've chosen to release the zipper from the dress starting at the top. Why? Because since we're taking it in a whole inch, if I should have trouble getting the zipper started, which can happen, you know, you have to get this zipper or this seam ripper in there, and nicking can occur, we know that, then you're the safest starting at the top because you're a whole inch in. Down at the bottom is where we'll want to be especially careful when we're releasing the zipper from the dress. Okay, zipper released from the dress, and you can kind of see the no man's land inside. Pick out the threads, and we'll advance to marking off where to lay the zipper next, and sew. At the top of the back, I've measured in my 1 inch. You can see where the zipper was because the fabric is still folded. Here's my inch in. From the bottom, I'm going to carefully pin the zipper back on at an angle until it meets up with that pin at the 1 inch mark. We do see that the zipper is probably going to fall short of the mark since there's a curve here, since there's an angle. I'll tell you how we're going to deal with that in just a moment. It's pinned now, that narrow wedge that represents the new stitching line. You can see the original fold line where the zipper was, and now you can see the wedge of the new stitching line. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you. It does fall short of the mark, so that once the new zipper is in, the zipper will end here, and then there will be this kind of a big jut of material here. That I've decided I'm just going to rework this curve here, and I'll show you how we'll do that later. We'll go through the rigors of that later, rather than taking this zipper out in its entirety and moving it up. To me, this is just my preference. I'd rather struggle with the top and rework the shape of it than go through what I find to be the dread of taking this zipper entirely out. You, of course, get to choose. If you're skilled enough, you get to choose. Everybody has their opinion. I'm demonstrating for you mine. Naturally, you need to know how to sew in an invisible zipper. Don't let this be your first invisible zipper experience. Okay, the first side of the zipper is finished. I've zipped it up. It zips up nicely. It always is tight anytime through a sash area or a bodice area. I'll be back with you in a second once I've used 3 or 4 hands to get this down. Whew, okay, well, it's always a struggle to get it down, the zipper right at the sash site, so don't be surprised. Anyway, it's down. We know that it extends up here a little bit, but I think all I'm going to have to do is rip back the lining a little further, and then since I'm just going to hand stitch the lining in its new position, it'll be smoother than it looks right now. I'm just kind of monkeying with it to show you. Essentially, it's going to be a nice smooth curve right here. I'm going to hand stitch the lining back alongside the zipper. This is the front side that we just accomplished by machine. It's going to look so nice. Stick with me here. At this point, we're ready to tackle the other side, and we'll just repeat everything shown on this side now. Until we get to a certain point, we'll need to make sure that the 2 ribbon sashes match up right and are not askew. So we can do everything essentially the same without really looking at the other side, except when it comes to this point, they need to match. Well, happily, the 2 sides at the sash do meet. They do meet pretty well. One side of the sash was a little thicker than the other. It's just a trifle off. I can live with it. And I didn't bore you with showing you all that it took to get that to match up. I spent a lot of minutes monkeying with it, and that's just what you do. Trim the excess now, making sure to keep free of the lining underneath. On the lining side of things, I have pinned my 1-inch back, pinned my wedge, so that I can go ahead and trim already the excess here. Then I'll be folding at the wedge line and meeting it up with the zipper and sewing it down by hand. See how I've got most of the lining pinned up against the zipper. I'm now up to the top where we were going to reshape this area because the zipper fell a little short. So watch me as I monkey with the last of the wedge placement against the zipper here. Every time I came to a pin, before I removed it, I pinned it down with another pin, then removed it. Now I'm up to this area here. Let's see how this works out. I'm just kind of going by guessing by golly. Just letting my fingers kind of do the walking. I do believe that's going to be smooth enough. Takes a little monkeying, and all the hand stitches will be very forgiving of this area too when placed correctly. I think it's going to be good. I'm working right to left. On this side of the zipper, I'm starting down at the bottom and we'll work up to that reshaped top. I'm placing my stitches approximately 3/8 inches apart. I'll see you up further towards, oh, look at that, towards the top. This segment might be a little boring. I'm just trying to get the top of this tab to disappear between the layer of the lining and the dress. I lost my needle. Here we go. And this is why we make such a point of pinning to excess almost, so that the stitching goes easily as can be. As easily as possible. And here I am almost up to where everything meets together. Confident about taking that last pin out. Yeah, I think that's going to be very good. And finally, I'm relying upon some pressing to round out the edges. that want to be just a little bit square here, and it's helping. Final reveal of the back demonstrates expert repositioning of the zipper. Good job!